Let's have a real fucking talk about iOS 14 and its impact on Facebook ads. Because I see a lot of people out there whining and complaining that iOS 14 has just absolutely devastated their Facebook ads performance. And I see a lot of people trying to come to the rescue and play guru, hero. Most of them have courses or some type of product to sell behind them and say, hey, we've got a solution for it, or I've done this and this, and look at how well my ads are performing now. Essentially buy my course. I don't exactly say that because they'll get kicked out of groups or whatever, but that's fundamentally what they're going for, and I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying. So like we see this post right here in a Facebook ads group, my ads used to be profitable with a return on ad spend of 8 to 10. After the iOS 14 update, I noticed a steep drop in ROAS, return on ad spend, and the cost per purchase has skyrocketed. What should I do? Any advice? So let's just look at some of the advice. Focus on your creatives, mostly UGC. Hey, we got a buzzword, UGC. Content will save you. Well, UGC content, user-generated content, worked before the iOS 14 update anyways. That's just, it's just a matter of fundamentally getting better creative. Thank you, I'm looking into UGC. We had somebody mocking it. Offline conversion sets. Because the audiences got larger, you need to stand out better. Okay, so better creative. What are your click-through rates? Have they gone up? Is all your creative static images? Implying I think that maybe video would do better. But I mean, I've split tested these and I've still got some that are running. I've got many that are running with just single images. How bad is your revenue if you're on platforms like Shopify, track number of purchases and compare results? Yeah, so you get all this stuff here. But, I don't really think that any of this stuff is substantial. Better creative always helps. But fundamentally, we'll come back to the better creative. Fundamentally, advertising is based on an offer and an audience. And you always hear the saying, it's 40% offer, 40% audience, 20% creative. And that is true. I mean, the percentages may not be hard percentages, but fundamentally speaking, it's audience and offer. And think about it, right? If you had a audience of thirsty people that were stranded in the desert and they needed water, and let's say they had access to their phone, and that was it, in the desert, and they were in the desert, they had their phone service, and you just had a service where you could just drop water from a drone or something and deliver it to them, and you were able to run ads to them. You know how many people would buy? All you'd have to do is say, we have water, click here to buy. Literally, that's it. You wouldn't even need a picture. Okay? That audience really wants your offer. And the audience wants your offer, right? And they will buy it. So that's a strong example, but fundamentally the same thing still applies to all other products. The audience and the offer is really what matters. And the best creative in the world will not compensate for an offer that nobody wants. Like say, for example, we came up with an offer for poop boxes, and I'm having a flashback to economics class in college 12 years ago, maybe more. But basically, the example was, hey, you could take this box, and all you could do is just put, dog turds in it, and you could look at it. The end. Well, no one would buy that because the audience does not want that offer. So anyways, advertising is fundamentally about your offer and your audience, and that has not changed since iOS 14 came out. So once you consider that, so much of this little gimmicky stuff that you hear reported just kind of, it just gets clearly pushed out of your mind. Audience and offer. All right, so there's no setting. If you're having problems with Facebook ads, there's no magic setting that's going to fix things. We'll talk about Conversion API in a second. Okay, I guess we'll jump into Conversion API right now. Okay, because a lot of people will say, all right, you got to go to Conversion API, pixel's dead, yada, yada, yada. Well, I'll tell you, I have multiple sites. I am in the lead generation business, and I generate leads in multiple niches, insurance products, financial services, those types of things, but they all have a different website. I'm not going to be running, ads for Find a Financial Advisor to the same website that I'm running ads to for Get Homeowners Insurance, right? So they have different websites. So actually, only on one of my websites have I set up Conversion API. So I've got like 5 or 6 websites that are just using the pixel only. And guess what? I have seen no difference. Now, keep in mind, I'm in the lead generation space. I have heard of some people in the e-commerce space that say there's and reputable sources, I will say, that I know closely, that I know are really, just killer motherfuckers in the e-commerce space, that say that Conversion API in e-commerce is making a huge difference for reporting. So, I wouldn't fret or I wouldn't stress that you need to get that set up. if you're not having any success to begin with your ads, the API and any setting is just not going to have a major change, or it's not going to have any impact on it. That said, if you're in the e-commerce space where your business is dependent on ad performance, well then, you should probably get the conversion API set up. Might help, but I'm in the I'm not in the I was going to say in the lead generation space. I'm in the lead generation space, and with my one site now being up for conversion API set up, the other sites not having the conversion API set up, I'll tell you, I'm not seeing a meaningful difference between them, and I'm not setting conversion API up on the other ones. And it's been that way now for 5 or 6 months since I got the conversion API set up on the right one. So the other sites are just using the Facebook pixel, and it's tracking, it's getting most of the data. It's getting basically about the same. And if you look at the events, in the back end of Facebook Ads Manager, you can see the events sent from the conversion API from the pixel. It's damn near about the same. And also, I believe that the iOS thing also blocks the conversion API as well. So yeah, conversion API, not necessarily something you need to jump out there and set up. And no, it's not going to save you. If your ads are performing poorly, setting up the conversion API, not going to come, not just going to pop up and be a magic winner. Okay, now what is performing poorly under iOS 14? Well, what you have to understand is it prohibits Facebook from getting characteristics of your convertees or your audience. It prohibits Facebook from getting those characteristics, so therefore it can't identify people. So yeah, unnaturally under iOS 14 things are going to perform a little worse. I'm not really seeing things perform much worse. Personally, so I've seen things perform a little worse, but the things that are really failing under iOS 14 are like retargeting audiences or very narrow audiences. Retargeting audiences have basically, I don't want to say grinded to a halt, but they're coming damn near close to that in my experience. They're not this big cash cow that they used to be. It used to be you could retarget something, retarget your organic website traffic on Facebook and just print money with it. Now it's not so lucrative anymore. So retargeting audiences and very narrow audiences. So the best solution I've found to getting returns on Facebook is going with very large audiences. I literally run my ads to one interest targeting, right? So it'll be like the whole age range. Like I'm not going to run homeowners insurance ads to 18-year-olds. So homeowners insurance is going to go to 25 plus. That's it. And actually homeowners insurance, I'll tell you, I run no interest level targeting on that. Some of my other ones, I do run one interest level, but that's it. That's as deep as I go. So I've got these audiences of tens of millions of people generally running nationwide. Now about the costs. Okay, well first, let's just take a back step here. This person says their return on ad spend is 8 to 10 what it was, before the update. My ads used to be My ads used to be profitable with a return on ad spend of 8 to 10. After the iOS update, I noticed a steep drop. So he doesn't specify, but a lot of people that, drop these numbers don't have accurate data, number one. They simply just don't have accurate data. Number two, they're exaggerating. And number three, will probably a combination of the two. Have I noticed a drop in performance? On some ad sets, the retargeting thing, yeah, but by and large, no, not really. I haven't noticed one, and I'm spending generally over $10,000 a day during peak season, which I'm getting into right now. That ad spend will be pushing $50,000 a day. Not noticing a steep drop in performance. I'm not noticing a return on ad spend of 8 to 10 going down to 1 or 2. Maybe 6 to 8 would be a range. So yeah, the return on ad spend is declining. That said, there's this thing called inflation. Costs are going up in everything. That includes the costs of digital marketing and advertising platforms. So yeah, so costs are inflating there. And I also think, and this is kind of, this is my own thought, but I think that Facebook realized with iOS 14 that they can increase their costs faster and more, and less people will know. And my theory behind that is that most people running ads on Facebook, and you see this with very big brands and very small amateur marketers, they're not accurately tracking their conversion cost, right? They are literally just running ads to get exposure and chase vanity metrics. And Facebook does a great job of that, of getting people to chase vanity metrics with things like video views, link clicks, page likes, engagement, right? So somebody might look at it and be like, well, it's not getting any conversions, but it's getting a lot of likes, so I'm going to keep running it, right? And I think Facebook saw with this iOS 14 thing that, no one really left the platform. right? Everyone that was running ads before iOS 14, guess what? They're still out there trying to run ads on Facebook. Nobody's really leaving it or cutting down their spending. Instead, they're spending more to try and get things to work better, and they think it's doing bad because of iOS 14, but behind the scenes, Facebook is just smiling and heckling all the way to the bank because they're just raising their internal costs, right? Like, these platforms are based on a bidding system, right? And you always hear that. They're based on a bid. It's a bid relative to what it'll cost somebody else to get into that in front of that same audience. But what you got to understand is Facebook controls the auction, therefore they could set a floor or a reserve price in the auction. So they fundamentally can drive up the costs. And personally, just my belief, I believe that with iOS 14, they realize they can increase the cost. So yeah, there you have it. Yes, I believe Facebook ad costs are increasing a little bit, not much. For me, it hasn't been as much as what some people are reporting. But the bottom line is the fundamentals of advertising have not changed, and there is no magic solution, no one-click change a setting type of thing that's going to make iOS 14 go away or make your ads perform better after iOS 14.